Hello, it's Rachel and I wanted to do an end of year finish parade. So this year I've managed to finish 10 different projects, which is exactly double what I finished last year. Last year I managed 5. So I have been doing a lot more stitching I think this year, probably due to my participation in magical stitches, which I'm probably going to do again next year. But I'll talk about that in more detail when I do a planning video, hopefully sometime in the first week of January. But for now I just want to share all my finishes. So the first one I did was this one here, which is a Designworks kit called Cocoa Snowmen, I think, something like that. And this is on plastic canvas. I didn't fully finish it into ornaments, mostly because I'm undecided what I want to do with these exactly. So I may do something else with them yet, we'll see. But that was finish number 1. The second thing that I finished was this design here. I purchased this online. It's a Russian designer, Svetlana Sichka is her name. She has an Etsy shop now. She didn't when I purchased this, but she does now. So this was my second finish. There is lots and lots of detailed back stitch in this, so if that's something that you don't like, then perhaps you wouldn't enjoy these patterns, but the finish is amazing. The detail on the fruit I was really pleased with, and overall I just like the colours and the aesthetic of this designer. Then the third one, this was my oldest whip. This is a Dimensions kit called 12 Days of Christmas, and I think I started this in 2017, and at the beginning of the year I'd just done the first 3. So I really wanted to get this one done this year, and it turned out really well. The gold threads were a bit of a pain to work with, but the overall effect is really beautiful. Unfortunately it doesn't really capture that well on video. I did replace the French knots with some beads, and I do talk about that on the video where I finished this. Yeah, I can do French knots, not overly well, so I prefer to use beads for berries, especially on a Christmas piece. It makes it a little bit more sparkly. There are some French knots though in the postal marks. I didn't replace those because I didn't think that'd look right. But yeah, this is a really nice piece. Unfortunately, didn't get framed for this Christmas, but hopefully next year this one will be in a frame. I really liked the music on this as well and how that turned out. So that was Dimensions 12 Days of Christmas. Then the biggest piece of the year was my Marjolaine Bastin 4 Seasons Collage. This is on 32 count even weave by Zweigart. I got this from So and So and they described it as ivory, but I've seen people selling it as pale cream. The Zweigart number is 99. If anybody's looking for this, it is a very, very pale colour. But this is one of my favourites, I think. There's so much detail in it, and it's really hard to show on camera, unfortunately. But yeah, this is another one that I'd love to see framed, but it's going to cost a fair amount of money, I should imagine, to frame this piece. That little mouse is one of my favourite bits, and the berries next to him. So that was the next one that I did. Then came a Panna kit. It doesn't come with this fabric. I substituted the fabric for some 28 count Jobelin, which I dyed, and I really enjoyed stitching this one. It's quite a quick stitch. I think I did this one in a week, but I love how it came out. Very delicate looking with the dandelion seeds. So that's that one. And then this is my space giraffe. This is from Etsy again. I forget the designer's name, but it is a Russian designer. And this is stitched on, I think it's 28 count Zweigart linen in the colour Dirty Linen. It's either 28 or 32, but I think it's 28. And I just love how vibrant the colours are on this one. And the eyelashes are what makes his face, I think, or her face. I think it's a her with eyelashes like that. So that is the space giraffe. Another one of my favourites, I think. Probably because it's, although it's unrealistic colours, the actual animal itself is very realistic. So I enjoyed stitching that one a lot. And then this one here was a heritage kit. I have two of these and I always get the names of them mixed up. One is called Quiet Moorings, I think that's this one, and the other one's called Morning Calm, but they're very similar designs. I did get them to go with each of those companion pieces, and this is stitched on 28 count even weave that came with the kit. It is available with 14 count Aida as well. So that's that one. And then this one you haven't seen because I was working on her during my last update, but my Enchanted Mermaid by Mirabilia is now completed. She has all of her beads and treasures. It took me 2 weeks to bead her after I'd finished all the stitching. So there is quite a lot of beads on her. I did run out of 2 of the beads and had to purchase more than what the pattern said was required. So that was a little disappointing, but she is absolutely gorgeous and sparkles all over. Hopefully you're picking up on some of that. So there's Krynic all in her hair, or headpiece should I say, in the leaves, then in her clothing as well. These are some of the treasures hanging down. And there's tiny delicate beads all down there, and then there's some larger treasures. These were a bit of a pain to attach, but they're worth it. And this is all Krynic here, which is not showing that well, but it never really does on camera. And more of the larger beads. I did notice, I think these ones here are a replacement. I think the one that the pattern calls for are discontinued and these are the replacement. I'm not sure whether they're smaller than the called for ones, but I did notice I had to go back and stitch where there was gaps left for the beads. I had to go back and stitch some more because you could see the fabric underneath. But overall, really pretty. She has a little flower ring on both hands, and then this is all cry neck down here. And the fin looks really nice in real life. It's difficult to see on camera. And then her tail fin is chock full of beads. So hopefully the camera can focus on those. There's just rows and rows and rows of silver lined beads and frosted white beads. And more treasures everywhere. Everywhere treasures. So really pleased with how she turned out. There was a point when I was stitching this one that I was a little bit indifferent to her. I enjoyed stitching her. She was an easy stitch, but I just was a little indifferent to the design, and it was only once I'd finished her with all the beads and things that I really started to love her. So yeah, she's definitely up on my favourites list now, and I'm looking forward to doing more Mirabilias. So that's one that you haven't seen. And then I also finished Pasta Time by Soda Stitch. Oh, I forgot to say, Mirabilia is on a 28 count Jobeling that I dyed myself. This one, my Soda Stitch Pasta Time, I did say I wanted to get done this year. This is stitched on a 28 count even weave in the colour Light Taupe by Zweigart. And show you a close up of this one. This is another piece with lots of backstitch. So again, if it's not your thing, you might not enjoy this, but I love stitching Soda Stitch patterns. They're so easy to stitch. No fractional stitches, all full crosses, and no fractional back stitching either. Because all the back stitch is in black, it's very easy to find your way. So all the different types of pasta. And then this was the section that I'd got down to, but I hadn't finished. So I think last time you saw it, I was 3/4 the way through that middle design with the onion and chilies and things. But that is all finished now. And I finished off the jug with the oil and cheese and olives. I think I might have called them grapes last time, but they're olives. And then this little lacy border, and a final row of pasta. The detail is really good in these. So another one very happy with. I'll just give you a final look at that one. You can almost see it in completion. And the final one of the year, my 10th finish, I finished today, and this is, it's supposed to be a cushion, but I'm not sure I'm going to make it into a cushion. So it's called Baubles Cushion. It's a Susan Bates design. It was in a cross stitch magazine. I can't remember which one it was off the top of my head, but I'm sure I've spoken about it before. And this is on a 28 count opal even weave. Hopefully you can see a little bit of the shimmer there. This one was a slow stitch. There are lots and lots of quarter stitches in all those little beads around all the edges of the baubles, and there's lots and lots of back stitching as well. Some of it I did leave out because I did this back stitching which you can barely see. And because it's over such a light blue you could barely see it, I left out white backstitching in other places and decided it was good enough. And then there's two different beads on here. There's a purple bead and a white bead, which are very pretty and sparkly. So I did do the back stitching on that one, the little zigzags, because it showed up over the purple, but it was just over the light blue, it didn't really show up, so didn't bother with it. And I did the snowflake on that one because again it's over the purple, so it showed up on there. But that's my final one. So very happy with everything I've done this year. 10 finishes, and some of them are quite big finishes. Pasta Time is pretty big. Enchanted Mermaid is pretty big. Thrown in with, you know, a couple of small ones as well. Space Giraffe, I would say, is medium size. Margin Baston is huge, but it was about half done, I think. That's a fairly big one, and then another couple of smallish ones. So good year overall. Plans I will talk about in another video. As I say, I just wanted this to be a end of year wrap up and show my finishes. Tomorrow is New Year's Day. I am going to do New Year, New Start. I've done it for the last 2 years, and I think this is the one that I've chosen. This is one of the Mereshka kits that I purchased. I did say in an earlier video I was thinking of doing something that was spring themed, so I think this will be the one. Anyway, you will find out, no doubt, whether I change my mind or not in my next video. I want to wish everyone a happy new year, and I will see you again soon. Bye bye.